Prologue. The morning dew settled on the blades of the yellow, half-living weeds and grass scattered across the beachfront landscape, with nothing heard but the chirping of puffins and the crackle of the low burning embers in front of the straw hut dying down from the night prior. Kai, it's time. You are of age. Your path begins today. Kai hadn't slept the night before because he knew this was the day he turned 16, and every boy at the age of 16 was initiated into the Viking rite of passage. He knew what was before him, what nearly half the group of kids from his tribe grew up dreading but concealed well, and what the other half, due to either blunt confidence or sheer naivety, looked forward to with impatient desire. "I'm ready," Kai responded unwaveringly underneath his breath. "Are you?" his father asked. "Well then, let's begin by seeing whether or not your legs are as bold as your mouth. Bard is waiting for you with 11 drengs in the known unknown." The known unknown was the initiation location that every young adult who came of the path age began. The known unknown, Kai thought. Is this real? Is this really happening? What could possibly lie ahead that some friends I've known never returned from, and the ones who did return never returned to their former selves? "I'm ready," Kai repeated, and getting up from his straw bed, with merely the cloak on his back for warmth and his leather shoes for protection, he, without looking back at his father and hiding mother, walked out of the hut onto the sandy beach and on the path that would lead him through the village and into the mountains of the known unknown. Kai was the type of child who grew up with a soft heart and a quick temper. In this way, he loved his friends and had many, but as a friend to so many, had few friendships that weren't surface level. It wasn't often that he got angry, and as the joyful type, he tended to get along well with most. Only when he did get angry, he got really angry, and he found that his temper was hard to control, often leading him to making decisions he'd later regret. Walking, he recalled the time at the age of 6 when a peer threw a rock in his direction, and he perceived it as an intentional personal attack. After missing his face by a couple inches, Kai, without thinking twice, picked up a bigger rock and throwing it directly at his nose, shattered it in 3 places. After witnesses relayed the message to his mother, who relayed the message to his father, Kai was made to stand with his hands behind his back in front of his victim, Fano, who, in front of both his and Kai's family, was made to deliver justice with a blow in return to Kai's nose. Upon returning home from the punishment, he remembered his father's words. "You have so much potential, and yet you throw it away when you lose your temper. You need to learn to harness your anger and use it as a tool for strength. If you cannot do this, it will rule you, and you will never be Viking." Never be Viking, Kai thought, as he continued making his way to the known unknown. Bah, what does he know? I am one of the fastest and toughest kids in my age group. It was true. Kai had managed to outrun and outwrestle most everyone his age, aside from Halfdan, his best friend. But as Kai continued walking, a dark cloud, an austere presence, slowly took over his mind as the dreadful thought he intended to avoid all morning but had reluctantly remembered the night before suddenly crept back in, making itself felt like thousands of needles pressing the inside of his muscles and body all at once. He was thinking about Arvid, his older brother who never returned from the path. Maybe my father has a point, he thought. Kai's temper resembled Arvid's, only it was rare that Arvid ever expressed his temper openly. Arvid, Kai remembered, had always maintained a stoic, straight face, but when rubbed the wrong way, took a more subtle and stealthy approach to exacting revenge on those who crossed him. Kai, now that he thought more about it, couldn't help but consider that this stealthy revenge Arvid had exacted on his peers prior to stepping onto the path years prior had in some way been his cause for never returning. But even those who did return from the path swore an oath of secrecy never to disclose what they saw. Yet there was no denying, by the way their eyes changed upon returning, that they had seen, or at least experienced, something. For better or for worse, what did it matter? The point is, they had returned. And not only had they returned, they were Viking.
Nothing matters more
Than being Viking, Kai thought aloud.